The intake form said Earth. Professor Kale Veyron read the word 3 times, his secondary eyelids flicking shut in disbelief. Earth. The Deathworld. The planet that the Galactic Collegiate Registry still classified under extreme hazard, biological and gravitational. The planet where the weather itself could kill you, where microscopic organisms waged war inside every living body, where the dominant species had inexplicably, magnificently, insanely, decided to stay. And one of its offspring had enrolled in his xenobiology advanced theory seminar. He looked up from the holographic desk panel at the girl sitting in the front row. She looked small. Dark hair pulled into a knot at the back of her neck. Pale brown skin with faint scars on her forearms, scars, which meant her body had been damaged badly enough to leave permanent marks, and she had survived anyway. She wore the standard issue gray academy uniform, but something about the way she wore it was wrong. Too relaxed. Too settled. Most first-year students sat with their spines rigid, nervous, performing the role of serious scholars. This girl sat the way a predator sat, comfortable, alert, completely unhurried. Her name, according to the registry, was Lyra Vera. "We will begin," Professor Kale announced, smoothing his four-fingered hands over his robe, with a review of atmospheric tolerance thresholds. "Each of you will state your homeworld and your species' survivable oxygen-nitrogen ratio range." The students went around in order. Thalvex from Sarion 9, who could survive 0.3 to 0.8 atmospheric pressure. Mira from the cloud belt of dusk, who breathed methane-supplemented air and wore a small filtration mask even now. Soren, a crystalline Vithali, who technically didn't breathe at all. Then it was Lyra's turn. "Earth," she said. Her voice was calm. Unhurried. Like she'd said the word 1,000 times and found it neither impressive nor embarrassing. Homo sapiens. Survivable range, technically 0.5 to about 1.4 atmospheres, though I wouldn't recommend the extremes. And we breathe roughly 21% oxygen, 78% nitrogen, trace gases. Though I've worked in environments with a lot less oxygen than that. Silence. Mira's filtration mask hissed softly. Thalvex's feather crest rose involuntarily. Professor Kale felt the peculiar academic instinct, the one that recognized a subject of study sitting directly in front of him. He cleared his throat. "Miss Vera. For the benefit of your classmates, can you describe the gravitational conditions of your homeworld?" 9.8 meters per second squared, Lyra said, without blinking. "Standard gravity." Which is, she glanced at the rest of the class with polite neutrality, about 2.3 times what most of you grew up in. Thalvex made a sound that was not quite a word. 2.3, Professor Kale repeated slowly. "And your species is mobile. Upright." "We run," Lyra said simply. "We've been running for a few 100,000 years. It helps." The first real incident happened 3 weeks into the semester. The Academy's xenobiology practicum included a mandatory field exercise in the simulated hazard zone, a controlled environment designed to replicate various planetary threat conditions at reduced intensity. 10% of lethal. Enough to stress test students' biology and their decision-making without causing actual harm. Professor Kale supervised from the observation deck above, watching through the reinforced glass as his students navigated the fog-filled chamber below. The simulation that day, a sudden barometric drop paired with a Predator model drone, one of the Academy's training constructs, shaped like the apex hunters of the Vreth system. Large. Fast. Designed to identify and pursue warm signatures. Thalvex froze. Most of the class scattered. Mira stumbled in the pressure drop, her equilibrium system poorly suited to rapid atmospheric changes. Then the drone locked onto Lyra. Professor Kale leaned forward. She didn't run from it. That was the first thing that surprised him. She assessed it, 1 full second of stillness while the machine bore down on her, close enough that the wind off its wings made her hair move, and then she moved sideways, not backward, dropping low and rolling behind a simulated boulder outcropping with a speed and fluidity that seemed physically improbable for a creature her size. The drone overshot. Recalibrated. Came back. She picked up a rock. A rock. A chunk of simulated basalt from the terrain floor, roughly the size of her fist. She weighed it in her palm for exactly 1 second. Then she threw it. The drone's optical sensor cluster exploded in a shower of sparks. The chamber went silent. Professor Kale stared. Lyra stood up, brushed dust from her knees with the businesslike efficiency of someone who had done much more unpleasant things, and looked around at her frozen classmates. "Is everyone okay?" she asked. Genuinely curious. No performance in it at all. Thalvex made the same wordless sound he'd made during the atmospheric discussion. After class, Professor Kale asked her to stay. He thought he would ask something academic. "What was your training? What survival programs did Earth send you through?" The careful, clinical questions of a scientist who wanted data. Instead, what came out was, "Are you afraid of anything?" Lyra looked at him. A long look, assessing, the same look she'd given the drone before she decided what to do with it. "Yes," she said. "What?" "Losing people." She said it simply, like it was obvious. Like it was the only answer that made sense. "I'm not very afraid of things that want to kill me. I've been dealing with those since I was a kid. Earth has. There's a lot of things on Earth that want to kill you. Weather. Animals. Bacteria. You get used to the calculus." She tilted her head slightly. "But people? People can leave. People can die. That's the thing that doesn't get easier." Professor Kale looked at the scars on her forearms. He had been trained not to ask about physical damage, too invasive across species norms. But Lyra caught the look. "Bear," she said. "When I was 11. I was hiking. It came out of the tree line faster than I expected and I didn't move fast enough." She held up her arm, examining the marks herself with the detached interest of someone reviewing old field notes. "I ran after that. Got better at running. You were 11. Earth kids spend a lot of time outside." A faint smile. "It's a very outside kind of planet." The semester's final project was a xenobiological threat assessment. Each student had to analyze a planetary ecosystem and present the primary survival challenges. Most chose known, documented worlds. Comfortable problems with well-researched solutions. Lyra chose Earth. Her presentation was 47 minutes long. It was supposed to be 20. Professor Kale did not stop her. She walked the class through the oxygen-rich atmosphere that made fire a constant risk. The tectonic instability. The water cycle that could produce storms with wind speeds lethal to most known species. The microbial ecosystem, the part that made Thalvex visibly uncomfortable, the revelation that Earth's dominant species lived in a state of constant low-level biological warfare with organisms too small to see, and had developed an internal system that fought back. "Your immune system," Professor Kale said, because he had read the literature, "attacks threats inside your body." "Constantly," Lyra confirmed. "Right now, actually." She said it with the same tone someone might say it's raining outside. Neutral. Factual. Faintly amused by the reaction it produced. "And the fauna," she continued. Her next slide showed something large and brown with enormous curved claws. "This is a grizzly bear. Average mass, 300 kilograms. Maximum recorded sprint speed, 56 kilometers per hour." She paused. "For context, that's faster than any of you can run. It's faster than most of you can think of running. And they can climb trees." Mireille's mask hissed rapidly, like panicked breathing. "We coexist with these," Lyra said. "We have rules about it. National parks. Regulations. Mostly we've learned to read the signals, when the animal is scared, when it's threatening, when it's going to commit. She pulled up her scarred arm. Sometimes the reading is wrong. You update your model and you keep going. At the end, she put up a final slide. Not data. Just a photograph. Earth from orbit. Blue and white and impossibly alive, wrapped in its churning atmosphere like a world that had decided, against all galactic probability, to be vivid. This is home, Lyra said. It's trying to kill you every day. I love it more than anything. Professor Cale Veyron had taught xenobiology for 22 years. He had studied civilizations older than Earth's sun. He had catalogued species capable of surviving vacuum, radiation, temperatures that reduced most matter to plasma. But standing in that classroom, watching a small scarred human being look at a photograph of her catastrophically dangerous homeworld with quiet, absolute devotion. He finally understood what the registry had gotten wrong in all its hazard classifications. Earth wasn't dangerous because of what it did to people. Earth was dangerous because of what it made them.